Hello, gorgeous little children in Jesus and little children all over the world. I hope that you're all having a lovely summer holiday. And for tonight's story, I want to read you this story that I wrote called "The Children Get Lost in Alaska." In the heart of Alaska lived a young girl called Isabella, who lived with her dad, brother, and sister in a wooden cabin among the tall trees and a little way up the mountains. Isabella had a beloved pet, who she adored, called Erwin. He was an iguana, and although iguanas are not used to the cold, Isabella would keep Erwin in a huge heated tank. Bruce the bearded dragon also lived in the same tank with Erwin, and the two were great friends. Erwin was very protective of Bruce, as Erwin was so much bigger and stronger than Bruce. But Bruce was the best climber. One day Isabella decided to embark on an adventure with her brother and sister. Erwin and Bruce, she went over to where her beloved pet's tank was. Erwin was basking under the light and heater, as he always did, on the branches of the trees inside the tank, overhanging the water, and Bruce was busy climbing up fast all the trees in the huge tank, as big as a house. Isabella, her sister Charlotte, and brother Eric wrapped Erwin and Bruce in warm blankets. That should keep you both warm, explained Isabella. Then the three children all ran outside together, giggling in the snow, and grabbing their sledges from out of their sheds. Their parents' shed, they stopped to make a snowman and throw snowballs at each other before heading up the mountains to go sledging. In the steep banks of the mountains, Eric, being the oldest and the boy, leads his little sisters up the mountainside. They pass by a lot of friendly creatures on the way, deers and foxes, and even a reindeer. But all of a sudden the heavens open, which pours down a blanket full of snow. The children become mesmerized by the snow, which causes their eyes to mist up and not make sense of where they are going. At first they just seem to walk about in circles, but now, although the children want to venture home, they had lost their senses of direction and have walked so far away from home. It was getting late and the sun was beginning to set, yet the children were lost. They were cold and hungry, and so was their pet Erwin and Bruce, because they were vegetarian. But all the vegetarian was frozen and not edible to eat. What are we going to do? We are lost with no food, and the night time is closing in on us, asked Isabella, and poor little Charlotte started crying her eyes out. Don't worry, I know that God will look after us, comforted Eric, as he made a fire to keep them all warm from the matches he had in his pockets and some twigs he had gathered from the ground. All three children snuggled together under their coats in front of the bonfire. They put Erwin and Bruce under their coats and tried to keep them warm. In the meantime, understandably, their parents was very worried about Isabella, Charlotte and Eric back at home. They had called the emergency search team to help find their children. But it was no use. No one could find them. The search team decided to take a rest for a night, but the parents who was angry at the search team for giving up searching was not about to give up too. Despite being warned to rest for the night and search again for them in the morning daylight, they ventured on. So they gathered up their sledges and went climbing up the mountains to try to find their children. In this distance was the sound of wolves, so their dad went back for his rifle to scare off the wolves in case they were to attack. The echoes of the wolves could be heard bouncing off from one mountain to another mountain under a bright white full moon. The children, very cold, managed to get a little sleep. However, as soon as they opened their eyes, they were surrounded by a pack of angry-looking wolves. Charlotte got hysterical and screamed and cried at the top of her lungs. "Be quiet, screaming! You will provoke the wolves to attack even more," explained Eric. "Because they also smell fear. Try to be calm. I have a plan," explained Eric. "What is your plan, smart boy?" asked Isabella. "Back away slowly. We shall climb those trees behind us," explained Eric. But as the children backed up and Eric had turned around to get his sisters up the tree, a wolf had started tugging on his coat. Eric was terrified and picked up some stones to scare them away, but it was no use as the wolves kept coming back. All of a sudden, as a wolf was about to devour Eric, Irvin ran out of Isabella's coat and so bravely ran over to the wolf, fast, even in his small distance, giving him a nasty bite with his powerful jaws, and with his tail breaking the bones of another wolf. To the other wolves, Irvin gave them a warning to back off by standing high upon all fours and drawing his breath in to make his body look longer. In the meantime, Bruce jumped out of Charlotte's pocket and scampered really high in the tree tops. Charlotte cried because she loved her pet Bruce so much and thought she had lost him. But in fact, he was searching for their children's parents. For some strange reason, he seemed to know that they were out searching for Isabella, Charlotte and Eric. Bruce eventually spotted the children's parents. The father looks up and sees Bruce in the trees, bopping his head, flaring his beard, and waving them on to follow him. So they just follow Bruce along. Irvin, in the meantime, manages to keep the wolves with his threatening posterior. However, all of a sudden, with his good vision, he noticed some scary shapes, shadows, colours and movements from behind the trees. More wolves had decided to join in for the attack. And now Irvin, despite his 6-foot-long body and scales on his neck, was very scared. By now, the gang of wolves had decided to come back in for the attack and was growling up the tree to where Isabel and Charlotte were sitting. Charlotte again screamed and cried. Her parents heard her screams, and just as the wolves were about to bite into Eric, his mum and dad had arrived to the scene. He pointed his gun to the sky and gave off some really loud bangs, which led the wolves all running off in a panic and not bothering with them ever again. Now Isabel, Charlotte, Eric, Irvin and Bruce were safe and sound, travelling back on their parents' sleigh with them. Irvin was a very affectionate pet, and he gave Isabel much love, licking her all the way back home. The children, they made a promise to their parents that they would never wander away without them ever again. And so I hope you all enjoyed that story, and I hope you all were blessed by that story and everything. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and God bless you all. Bye for now.